Hello, fellow gamers, and welcome back to Reality Remake. So, another game came across my desk during the Steam Next Fest, and it's basically like an attritional warfare frontline logistics simulator that kind of feels like a simulator of like the Ukrainian front line from like before drones got really crazy and blowing everything up over there. Except I don't know, maybe they're going to add drones to this game. I don't know. It's just a demo right now, so maybe they will add drones. That'd be pretty sick, honestly. And it's also just I have to say the best military logistics simulator I've ever played, and it just scratches my brain absolutely perfectly. I wasn't actually going to make a video on this one at first, but the creator actually hit me up directly and asked me to, so I figured why not just quickly smear my praise across the YouTube section of the internet and encourage you to give it a try. This game is very unique and highlights just how much stuff is needed to fight a war, because in most games, you send your boys in, they get shot up, they do some shooting, but then, their ammo kind of magically regenerates and they kind of magically replace casualties when you hit the casualty replace button or bring them to the casualty replace center, or just over time, or a healing unit, all sorts of gamified things. This game, much less like that. If your guy goes down, you have to bring him back to base, or maybe just his body, and then you have to wait for replacements to show up from the rear lines, because, your whole army has limited supplies, and this is sort of like immersion and realism into actually managing a front line during an attritional, positional-based war that is just really unique and really satisfying about this game. Anyway, more about it. It's called Frontline Logistics Isarian Warfare, by the way. It's set in the fictional country of Isaria, and you're the Isarian military fighting some separatists who are probably supported by, another neighboring hostile nation. Tell me if you've heard this one before. Anyway, it's still unreleased at this time, and in the footage that you're seeing right now, this is just the demo. You can try out the demo yourself if you want. More on that later. Anyway, the demo's free. I suggest you try it, actually, because this is a modern static frontline style of experience where the focus is just as much on keeping your soldiers comfortable enough to stay in the fight as it is on actually fighting the enemy. I can show you a lot of cool clips like this one where bullets are flying, and these adorable pixel art buildings are getting torn up by heavy weapons. But honestly, most of the game is going to look like this. Moving the pieces of your force into position and maintaining supply lines and capabilities between your forward operating bases, which is just a fancy term for some holes your guys dug inside of some abandoned village buildings. Though, do keep in mind that this is one of those games where the tutorial kind of makes it suck at first, because it's just so different that learning how to control it is kind of challenging. Just figuring out how to do things, really. But come on, this is a military-style simulator. Did you really think it was going to be easy? All these mil-simi sort of games are always impenetrable at first, and then eventually they get easier once you get the gist. Because honestly, even once I figured out how to tell my guys how to do stuff, doing literally any combat action still felt really punishing. After spending so much time nurturing my boys and feeding them and clothing them and making beds for them and keeping them safe in the forward operating base, sending them forward to do combat, and then get torn to shreds by modern firearms so easily was pretty heartbreaking. It is honestly, it's a core part of the experience. But handling the material fallout of combat, such as treating casualties, disposing of the bodies of casualties respectfully, resupplying forces who've used their ammunition, all that stuff is a huge part of this game. Honestly, it is the core of the game more than the actual combat itself. The combat itself is pretty cool and very lethal if your guys get out of position. They can easily get absolutely chewed up if they get caught out in the open really quickly. That part's just all right in my opinion. Other games do that better, but how that combat ties into the overall logistical and tactical picture of your little section of the front line is really where this game shines. It's where it shines, all right? I'm putting in a shrine, and I'm shining my light on just how much I'm liking this game. I'm really glazing the hell out of it. But the combat, like I said, is okay. Very suppression-based, very much focused on you destroying enemy positions with fire and then moving your guys in to mop up. Though I figure when the front line gets a little bit more fortified, you'll have to, either use heavier weapons or maybe focus more on fire and movement and, you'll kind of flank in on heavily entrenched positions. But I didn't really get that far in the game because I had a lot of technical difficulties with this demo, y'all. A lot of technical difficulties. It straight up crashed my computer once, so I don't have a ton of footage to show y'all. And I also, there was this bug every time I loaded a game, my transport units would refuse to search buildings or transport supplies anymore. You do search a lot of buildings in this game too, by the way. A lot of your supplies don't just come from the rear. You're like scavenging buildings because you're basically in a war zone that's like apocalyptic. There's no civilians around. You're sending your boys to like get wood scraps out of buildings to shore up defenses and build new facilities with, which is an interesting take. You're not usually like scavenging supplies in a milsim type game. Anyway, I thought that's pretty cool. It's, it's a pretty unique game. It's pretty tits. And I have not been paid to say this, for the record, though the creator, like I mentioned, did reach out to me. I just think this game deserves attention because of how unique it is. And it's going to get even better the longer you play it, because the Frontline will evolve. It's the ultimate logistics simulator and attritional. God, I keep saying how much I love this game. There's no game that does attritional positional warfare like this one. Because as the battle lines kind of form and solidify, it gets even harder to push the enemy out of an area and attack. And it starts hard because they get more guys as you get more guys, and they get heavier weapons as you get heavier weapons, and you're going to be able to build fortifications, fortify buildings, and build trenches and stuff. And it's just going to be an absolute clusterfest of you trying to slowly incrementally push the line in the hopes of getting more supplies from the rear by showing success. That's kind of the main loop of the game. Anyway, I wish I'd gotten a little further in the demo, except all those kind of bugs got in my way. But don't let that discourage you. I really recommend that you try the demo because it's something really unique. Just, it'll take you maybe like 20, 30 minutes to get over the hump of figuring out the controls. I certainly didn't play the game optimally. I just kind of like manually sent supplies from base to base, which got me far enough. Got a little tedious once or twice maybe, but got me far enough. There's definitely better systems to do that, but I did not bother learning them. I will probably when this game comes out in Q1 2026, which is the plan. Hopefully there's going to be a lot of bug fixes. It's got solid design. It just needs some more polish, some fixes, some work, maybe some more assets added to it, like infantry fighting vehicles, because all I saw were, as far as vehicles you got to use, were pickup trucks. Tanks and IFVs would be really cool. Anyway, this is the ultimate experience for the military logistics enjoyer inside of you, and I think the developer deserves to get sucked for the fantastic job they've done here. Thank you very much for listening. This has been Reality Remake. Like, comment, and subscribe if you like this video. See you later.